Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Flame Emperor episode number 28 based on novel. So let's start. The refining of the three main materials is extremely demanding. If there is no special extraction method, it is difficult to extract the medicinal power that you need from it. If you are not careful, there will even be a fried cauldron. This is the case with Shuigaoshi, and even more so with Dragon Blood Immortal Vine. The extraction of Shuigaoshi is even more difficult than the transformation pills that were made by the Refining Pharmacist Association. Nearly 20 kinds of ingredients were neutralized, and it took Xiao Yan about 4 days. A drop of white liquid like bone marrow was successfully extracted from it. After the successful extraction of Shuigaoshi, Xiao Yan also extracted the Dragon Blood Vine. The so-called Dragon Blood Vine itself is extremely hard, and it becomes even harder after bathing in dragon blood. It is rumored that this Dragon Blood Vine also contains a trace of dragon blood, not wood or gold, and the most amazing thing is that this thing has been bathed in dragon blood, so its fire resistance is quite high. Even Xiao Yan, with the help of the different fire, it took 3 full days to make the surface crack open. When the Dragon Blood Vine was cracked, more than 20 light clusters flew into the medicine cauldron in midair in order to neutralize the violent aura in the Dragon Blood Vine, and finally those auxiliary medicinal materials were destroyed by Xiao Yan. All refining, turning into droplets of medicinal liquid containing pure power, falling on the ivy. With the help of the reconciling power of these many medicinal materials, the violent dragon blood pressure was suppressed. About half an hour later, the Dragon Blood Fairy Vine, which was like a dead branch, finally burst open, a little faint. The red powder spilled out from it and was finally solidified into a red powder ball by Xiao Yang's soul power. The refining of the 2 medicinal materials is completed, naturally waiting for the last green wood fruit to complete the first step of refining medicine, extracting and refining the medicinal materials. It is strange to say that the hardness of this green tree fruit is slightly better than that of snow cream and dragon blood vine. Even if Xiao Yang fuses the flame power of 23 kinds of different fires, it costs a full 6. It took a few days to completely extract it. Compared to Xiao Yang, he couldn't help but smack his lips. The 3 main ingredients were successfully refined. Looking at this scene, Xiao Yang and the Golden Dragon King floating in the air breathed a sigh of relief. The quick refining techniques of Xiao Yang before, but the Golden Dragon King was dazzled. Although he didn't know much about alchemy pills, but from Xiao Yang's refining techniques, it is still possible to see a trace of smoothness like flowing clouds and water. This kind of refining is quite pleasing to the eye. When he saw that Xiao Yang's soul power was divided into 3 and he was refining 3 kinds of medicinal materials at the same time, he could not help but be surprised because of the concentration of the Golden Dragon King. No one has ever been able to do this. After all, refining medicine requires a huge amount of soul power as a backup. Xiao Yang's soul power is divided into 3 parts and refining 3 medicinal materials at the same time, and the load on himself is quite large, and Xiao Yang is also carrying out several medicinal materials at the same time. Although the refining time has been greatly shortened, the load on one's own soul power is undoubtedly huge. The most feared thing in refining medicine pills is the sudden depletion of soul power in the middle of the process. The Golden Dragon King is also worried about Xiao Yang's appearance. What kind of accident? The damage is small, and the injury is more than the loss. But fortunately, Xiao Yang succeeded. This method of refining medicine by dividing into 3, even the Tuoshi back then did not have such a method. After refining the 3 main ingredients, the magic core was also defeated by the raging fire of the Xiao Yang, and turned into a meatball the size of a naked eye. Seeing the appearance of the square inside the tripod, he also took a short rest, concentrated again, pondered for a while, took out a jade bottle from the ring, the bottle mouth slowly tilted, and immediately, a familiar drop of scarlet blood dripped down. The scarlet blood was floating in front of Xiao Yang. Although the blood volume was small, the violence and energy contained in it was not at all dare to be underestimated. This so-called scarlet blood is naturally extracted by Xiao Yang from the bloodthirsty dragon lizard in the ruins. From the beast that is comparable to the human 4-star fighting emperor, it can be seen that its level is not low, far-reaching in accordance with the requirements of refining the consolidated origin pill. If it is used to refine it, if it is successful, the quality of the elixir will probably be even better. When this drop of scarlet blood appeared, Xiao Yang couldn't help but feel distressed. This is a treasure that is enough to resist the full blow of a 4-star Do Emperor powerhouse. Xiao Yang fixed his eyes on the drop of scarlet blood. After a while, he flicked his fingers and the blood flew out lightly, and finally fell into the medicine cauldron. The scarlet blood just fell into the medicine cauldron, and the powerful energy contained in it was directly blowing a gust of wind in the medicine cauldron. Seeing this, Xiao Yan frowned slightly, hesitated for a moment and immediately gritted his teeth. The medicinal liquid and medicinal powder extracted from the snow cream she, greenwood fruit, and dragon blood fairy vine are directly injected into the scarlet blood. Trying to fuse. All three contained extremely powerful energies, and under the control of Xiao Yang, a monstrous situation erupted, as if no one would accept the other, and the three groups of medicinal materials were also fighting against each other. Damn! Give it to me. Xiao Yan also did not expect that the power of the medicinal materials extracted from the snow cream she, greenwood fruit and dragon blood fairy vine would have a trace of self-consciousness which deepened the difficulty of fusing the medicinal materials, but Xiao Yan also burst out with vindictive energy, and the huge soul force swept the entire medicine cauldron, controlling the slow fusion of the power of the three medicinal materials. The medicinal power of the three medicinal herbs just fell into the scarlet blood did not cause any turbulence, but just when Xiao Yang was about to relax, a violent energy wave suddenly emerged from the scarlet blood. The gust surged out and immediately slammed into the inner wall of the medicine cauldron. Immediately, a loud and clear sound wave spread rapidly, affecting the entire wooden house. The heavy medicine cauldron also trembled a few times at this moment. If it were not replaced by an ordinary medicine cauldron, I am afraid that this shock would have caused it to explode directly. Xiao Yang looked at the drop of scarlet blood that was rapidly churning on the surface of the medicine cauldron with a gloomy expression. A hedgehog that has entered a state of defense is like a hedgehog, and within the tumultuous hedgehog, there is a violent wave of energy that is beyond words. Clang! One after another energy fluctuations continuously impacted the inner wall of the medicine cauldron, and the loud sound waves reverberated throughout the wooden house. At this time, almost every member of the Yu family knew that it seemed that there was a little problem with Xiao Yang's refining. Is he all right? On a quiet path, Yueru's beautiful eyes frowned slightly, and then cast her gaze at the wooden house where Xiao Yang was. Xiao Yang's eyes were fixed on the power of several groups of medicinal materials in the medicine cauldron, and then he rushed towards the cauldron with all his fighting energy, instantly suppressing the riots in the cauldron, and then the soul power poured out, densely covered every corner of the medicine tripod. To refine medicine pills, the key is to first melt many medicinal materials into piles of pure liquids through the catalysis of flames, and then perfectly fuse various medicinal powers. This fusion needs to be maintained at an extremely delicate level. It is precisely because of this that soul power can become the most critical thing that depends on the achievement of an alchemist. Such a change in this time was somewhat unexpected to Xiao Yang because his previous steps were completely in accordance with the prescription without the slightest error, but in the end there was still a problem. Obviously, these steps in it, there is something that he has not grasped. The previous Xiao Yang also did not know which step had gone wrong, but when the flames burst into his eyes, he suddenly realized that the problem was not in the medicinal liquid he extracted, but in the drop in the scarlet blood and the medicine powder that was transformed by the dragon blood vine. This drop of scarlet blood is extracted from the bloodthirsty dragon lizard in the ruins, and the violent energy contained in it far exceeds the requirements for refining the consolidated essence pill. The power of ferocity, the power of the two medicinal materials, Shuigaoshi and Qingmuguo alone, cannot be completely reconciled. That is to say, the power of blood is too strong, and the power of medicinal materials is too weak. A balanced point? Moreover, the bloodthirsty dragon lizard also possesses the power of the blood of the dragon, even if it is insignificant, it is the blood of the genuine dragon family. Synonym. And the dragon blood vine had also been bathed in dragon blood, so the real problem was that the breath of the silk dragon bloodline on the two was activated when Xiao Yang's strange fire refining, and now the two have just touched, the breaths in it are incompatible with each other. The bloodthirsty dragon lizard left on the scarlet blood contains the blood of the dragon family, and the dragon blood vine also has the blood of the dragon family. The two have produced a very violent exclusion. I figured out the problem, but Xiao Yang's frowning brow still haven't been stretched out. If the power of blood cannot be reconciled, then the only way is to change the blood of beasts, but Xiao Yang's hands now, apart from the scarlet blood of this bloodthirsty dragon lizard, no other blood essence was prepared. In this case, the only choice is the former. Xiao Yang looked at the inside of the cauldron, surrounded by many spikes of blood essence like a hedgehog, and the red powder of dragon blood and fairy vine exuding a layer of light shield, with a thoughtful look. Thoughts flashed in his heart. Xiao Yang's eyes were also slightly condensed, and with a wave of his palm, the numerous light clusters that were staying in the air were sucked into the medicine cauldron by them, and milky white flames swept through them. In just a few minutes, those medicinal materials were slowly refined and fused into a drop of light blue liquid under Xiao Yan's subtle control. Xiao Yan stared at the drop of blue liquid infiltrated with some gentle power, and with a finger, the latter slowly descended, and immediately fell into the scarlet blood that was churning more and more violently on the surface and the powder that turned into powder. Among the dragon blood vines. This drop of liquid containing the power of the essence of many medicinal materials, after falling into the scarlet blood and powder, the gentle power contained in it did indeed play an immediate effect. Slowly retract into the body. Looking at this scene, Xiao Yan also breathed a sigh of relief, but the moment the breath just came out of his throat, it suddenly solidified because he clearly felt that there were two faint senses of coercion, slowly from out of that drop of scarlet blood and powder. On the powder of scarlet blood and dragon blood vines, there is a slightly illusory miniature dragon shadow entrenched. A hostile dragon roar resounded inside the wooden house. As soon as this feeling of coercion appeared, it caused Xiao Yan's vindictive energy to stagnate a little. Immediately, the scarlet blood and powder that had just finally calmed down seemed to boil. The madness surged up, and a violent force that made one's complexion change slightly rose rapidly in it. The sudden change also caused Xiao Yan's complexion to change. Those two dragon roars that permeated from the blood and powder, even with Xiao Yan's concentration, there was a moment of shock. What's going on? The Golden Dragon King was obviously not an expert in refining medicine, but when he saw the two miniature dragon shadows in the cauldron, he asked with a little understanding. There is something wrong with the fusion of that drop of scarlet blood and the dragon blood vine. Xiao Yan also said solemnly. Xiao Yan's eyes were also fixed on the drop of scarlet blood and red medicinal powder at this moment. The biggest problem really came from here. Yu glanced at the wooden hut and a dignified flash flashed in her eyes. Judging from this sense of coercion, the master of this blood essence must have been extremely terrifying when he was alive. Ferocious beast, where did Xiao Yan get the blood of such a high-level beast? I don't know where this little friend Xiao Yan got the blood of the demon beasts, but it contains such coercion. As far as I know, among some powerful demon beast families on the Xianling continent, every clan, since he was born, he has owned a spiritual tablet. In the spiritual tablet, there is a strand of remnant soul. As long as this strand of remnant soul remains, then the bloodline in its body will not be obtained by others, and once it is incarnated. When the monument is broken, the clan members die, and the clan will send strong men to recover their bones. Will definitely not be obtained by the outside world. This is quite similar to the current scene, but how can it appear here? This kind of magical beast with a spiritual tablet? On the pavilion, Yu also noticed the changes in the wooden house where Xiao Yan was, and murmured in her heart with some doubts. This beast was discovered in the ruins, and it contains a trace of the blood of the dragon family. Its strength during his lifetime should have been at the peak of the 4th grade emperor, and the level of breaking through to the 5th grade emperor. The beasts of this level can only rely on a drop of blood essence can exude such tyrannical coercion. It seems that this beast really deserves to be a monster with dragon blood. Yu said softly. It's normal in the ruins. Yu was also surprised. After all, there are many treasures and monsters in the ruins, and it is reasonable to have such a powerful monster. Then let's watch it here. It's really impossible to take action. Yu also said, because everyone knows that pharmacists can only rely on themselves to refine medicine pills, and others can't help. Yeah. Yu also bit her lips slightly. Xiao Yan's eyes flashed a little light. The scarlet blood and the dragon's raw coercion emanating from the medicine powder constantly resisted the neutralization of the power of many medicinal materials. Two arrogances remain. One originates from the bloodline. This arrogance does not allow it to succumb to its own kind, let alone be refined into a medicinal pill for people to absorb. No matter how tyrannical you were when you were alive, but now, it's just a thing without a master. I still don't believe it. I really can't conquer you. A trace of anger was aroused by the constant resistance in the medicinal powder of the scarlet blood and dragon blood fairy vine. Xiao Yan snorted coldly, and flicked his fingers. The medicinal herbs fused by the two medicinal herbs of Shuejiaoji. The power appeared in the hand, on the palm of the hand, and the flames were tumbling, and they were directly thrown into the flames. The degree of resistance between these two is far beyond Xiao Yan's expectations, but it can also be seen that the energy contained in them is so majestic. I am afraid that its quality will reach a very high level. Thoughts rolled in his mind, and in the flame in Xiao Yan's palm, a drop of blood-red liquid also flew out of the medicine cauldron and then emerged. I can't believe I can't cure you. Looking at the drop of blood-red liquid, Xiao Yan gritted his teeth and flicked his fingers. The latter turned into a red shadow and plunged into the medicine cauldron, trying to neutralize the battle between the scarlet blood and the powder. The blood-red liquid was refined by Xiao Yan to neutralize the energy of the two. The blood-red liquid fell into the scarlet blood, and the violent power of the latter was also slowed down. Xiao Yan's repeated offenses, the pressure that permeated from the blood became more and more powerful. After arriving, Xiao Yan's eyes suddenly appeared a little dazed. He saw two extremely hideous miniatures sitting on top of each other. The faucet head threw out from the medicine tripod and slammed into him fiercely. After a short fight, the dragon shadow on the blood essence and the dragon shadow on the dragon blood vine seem to have reached an agreement, and they also know that Xiao Yan is trying to control and fuse them. The illusory dragon head of the two just wanted to whistle at Xiao Yan. He left, but did not leave the medicine tripod, and was intercepted by the overwhelming milky white flames. But even so, there was still a low muffled groan in Xiao Yan's throat. Immediately, he was slightly horrified to find that his soul power had actually weakened a little. Taking a deep breath, the shock in Xiao Yan's eyes became more intense. The refining of Guban Peiyuan pill was also interrupted at this moment because of the dragon blood in the two bodies, and the trace of dragon blood could not be expelled. Refining was successful. You can never get rid of the confrontation with drugs like this. Since it contains the aura of the blood of the dragon family, then it is natural to use the most direct method. The Golden Dragon King noticed the change in the tripod from the moment the miniature dragon shadow appeared, but he also wanted to see what Xiao Yan could do. Looking at Xiao Yan, who was in a hurry, he rolled his eyes at him and said crisply. Hearing this, Xiao Yan was also stunned, and immediately gave a wry smile. Now he only knew that if he didn't remove the coercion in his blood, these extremely hard-to-find medicinal materials would be wasted in vain. Roar? The Golden Dragon King finished speaking, and a low dragon roar lingered in the small wooden house, and the dragon's roar did not go out for a long time. With the appearance of this faint dragon roar, there seemed to be a moment of silence in the wooden house. Immediately, Xiao Yan was shocked to realize that the dragon fighting against each other in scarlet blood and red powder shadow energy is rapidly dissipating like remnant snow meets boiling water. Staring at the changes in the medicine cauldron in a stunned manner, because the power of the soul is all over it, Xiao Yan can feel more clearly that the confrontation between each other is rapidly dissipating. The fright of a king. In just a few short breaths, the pressure that gave Xiao Yan an incomparable headache disappeared completely. This change made him stare blankly at his master, the Golden Dragon King, who was floating in the air. Full of doubts and curiosity. Why are you standing still? Rondan, I'm not a pharmacist. The Golden Dragon King roared at Xiao Yan as if he was nothing. Hearing that, Xiao Yan also suppressed the shock in his heart, and then looked eagerly at the calm 5 groups of light in the cauldron. Snow Cream Ji, Greenwood Fruit, Dragon Blood Fairy Vine, Magic Core, and Blood Essence 5 groups of rays of light dimmed under the roar of their master, the Golden Dragon King, and did not dare to resist in the slightest. With the coercion in the blood, he was expelled. The medicinal power of Shui Gaoxi and other medicinal materials was slowly released, and then slowly merged with the majestic power in the blood, and then began a slow fusion. With the help of the dragon roar of his master, the Golden Dragon King, Xiao Yan barely managed to pass this level. Although it was quite thrilling, it was not that he did not gain anything at all. The energy contained in the medicinal liquid today is quite high. After all, it contains not only the blood of the bloodthirsty dragon lizard, but also the rare dragon blood vine and many precious medicinal materials of greenwood fruit. On the basis of a higher level. After helping Xiao Yan to solve the remaining dragon shadow, the Golden Dragon King never disturbed him. After all, the fusion of medicinal pills also requires concentration, but he still glanced at the tumultuous medicinal liquid in the medicinal cauldron with envy. After that, he just smacked his lips. With a movement, Zaidu returned to the ring. Alchemist is the most popular profession. Who doesn't want to be a pharmacist who everyone competes for? However, the Golden Dragon King also knows that he can't come out as a pharmacist because of his race, so he is not addicted to it. But the dragon roar he just released. It's better to avoid it, or it will be discovered. The Golden Dragon King muttered to himself, then returned to the ring. This roar is comparable to that of a real dragon. It seems that the dragon blood of this monster is very close to the real dragon. Even if the Golden Dragon King deliberately suppressed the roar, you caught it, but you imagined the roar as a monster. Now that the problem has been solved, the next refining is only a matter of time, right? If this kid can really refine the first-order imperial medicine pill at one time, it would be really incredible. As far as I know, even some imperial pharmacists have a high failure rate when they try to refine imperial medicinal pills. Yu smiled as she looked at her worried daughter beside her. Hearing what his father said, the surrounding elders also smiled and nodded with a deep understanding. For them, the imperial medicine pills almost belong to the legendary level. Taking it, even the number of times I have seen it with my own eyes, is only a handful. After all, in this Qingcheng, the alchemists who are capable of refining imperial medicine pills can be counted with one hand, and every time they make a shot, they will be counted. The price is quite high. The imperial medicinal pill has not appeared for many years. Even the current president of Qingcheng's Alchemist Association has never refined an imperial medicinal pill in recent years. When everyone in the lobby outside the wooden house was also relieved, Xiao Yang's mind was once again condensed in the medicine cauldron, and all the soul power poured in, the fire of the flame and the various reactions produced by the fusion of various medicinal liquids, all are in the mind. Inside the medicine cauldron, a milky white flame envelops a mass of liquid about the size of half a fist. This massive liquid is slightly colorful, but in general, it is still mostly dark red, but among the dark red, it seems to have a good effect. Several kinds of energies that cannot be colored are merging slowly with it. The soul force felt the calm in the liquid. Xiao Yang was also slightly relieved. After the previous incident, the latter things became much more stable. Looking at this appearance, as long as all the medicinal power in it is completely after the fusion, it can gradually condense into the prototype of the medicine pill. Of course, this is a rather slow process. According to Xiao Yang's expectations, this fusion time, I'm afraid it will take at least 5 days. Taking a slow breath in his heart, Xiao Yang's eyes slowly closed, and a trace of his mind moved Fen Ju to absorb the energy of the surrounding heaven and earth. The soul power was still hovering in the medicine cauldron, controlling the heat and the power of various medicines. The fusion of. Now all he needs to do is wait quietly. And this is a full 6 days. In the past 6 days, the crowd that originally gathered to watch the fun in the Yu family gradually dispersed, but when almost everyone came out every day, their eyes were involuntarily cast into the wooden house in the backyard. Looking at the radiant wooden houses with huge soul power, all have some admiration. Because the person in the wooden house was also named as a guest by their Yu family patriarch. In this Do-D continent, which is also dominated by strength, a pharmacist with the rank of emperor is also enough to have this kind of treatment. In 6 days, almost everyone was used to the explosion and the dragon roar before the wooden house. They didn't know how long it would take for the big man inside to concoct alchemy, but after seeing this alchemy vision with their own eyes, I can't help but slap my tongue, seeing that the medicinal pills refined by this movement are obviously not low rank. No wonder the more high-quality medicinal pills are so precious. I didn't expect that just refining, it is so troublesome and cumbersome. Within 6 days, you and the others would habitually stay outside the wooden house for a period of time. First, it was to prevent Xiao Yang from having any needs and to replenish them in time. Second, they wanted to witness this imperial medicine pill with their own eyes. Was born, and then saw that Xiao Yang remained motionless and just left slowly. In the past few days, Xiao Yang's breath has gradually become vague, and even that breath has become extremely light, and it looks like a Buddha who is about to be seated, and the breath is vague and uncertain. If it wasn't for Yu's extraordinary knowledge and knowledge that he must concentrate on refining high-level medicine pills, he also knew that he was in a very focused state at the moment, otherwise he would be a little worried about whether this guy had something wrong in the medicine refining process. Although Xiao Yang fell into silence like a monk entering into meditation, the medicine cauldron in front of him was like thunder in the sky. The rumbling sound resounded non-stop, and an extremely terrifying soul force kept swimming back and forth in it. Movement, combined with the power of the 5 medicinal materials, whistling and circling in it, under this soul power, even if it is a strange fire, it can only be obediently let it be directed. 6 days passed slowly. Just as the morning of the 7th day came, a ray of sunlight broke through the shackles of the earth, shot out from the mountains far away, and shone on the wooden house. Under the warm sunshine, Xiao Yang, whose eyes were tightly closed for 6 days, also slowly opened with a slight trembling. The dark eyes, under the sunlight, reflected some dazzling luster, and at this moment, the silent aura, like an awakened sleeping lion, slowly permeated from Xiao Yang's body. 6 days ago, it was actually much more refined. If Xiao Yang in the past was in the early stage of the 3-star peak, then now he is standing at the 3-star peak level, and breaking through to the 4-star level is only a short distance away. The previous retreat only restored Xiao Yang's strength, but this time's alchemy seems to have given Xiao Yang a great benefit. Feeling the aura emanating from his body, Xiao Yang was also slightly startled, and a look of contemplation flashed in his eyes. These few days, He has indeed been in a state of concentration. After all, this time he made pills. Medicine can only succeed and not fail. The extremely complex fusion of the 5 medicinal powers in the medicine cauldron was not only condensed by him, but there was not even the slightest waste of useless consumption. Originally, according to common sense, the success rate of the condensed yuan pei yuan and refined this time would not be too high because not only there are many cumbersome procedures, but also the blood essence that is several times more tyrannical, and even the dragon blood fairy vine and warcraft essence later. Blood clashes. In this way, it is almost completely inconsistent with the prescription configuration. You must know that even if there is a lack of an inconspicuous herb in the prescription, it may cause the failure of alchemy. After all, every prescription, it was only after countless experiments by predecessors that they succeeded, and future generations want to tamper with it out of thin air. The difficulty can be imagined. His eyes slowly turned to the medicine cauldron, looking at the purplish-red medicinal pill prototype wrapped in flames. A relieved smile appeared on Xiao Yan's face. The prototype of the medicinal pill was about the size of a longan, the whole body was purple-red, and the surface was pitted and looked extremely unsightly, but Xiao Yan was able to feel the majestic pure medicinal power from it. This kind of power has the opposite effect of improving one's cultivation talent. Miracle effect. As we all know, a person's cultivation talent and potential are innate. Although this does not determine a person's future height, there is no doubt that if you are born with a strong talent and potential, your cultivation will definitely be very good. However, it is extremely difficult to improve talent and potential. However, this so-called consolidating foundation and nourishing essence can be achieved. This alone is worthy of its imperial reputation. The basic form of the medicinal pill has been completed. The next step is the last step of the pregnancy pill. Obviously, there are not many obstacles in this step, because within the preliminary form of the medicinal pill, all the medicinal powers have been perfectly integrated. That is to say, even if this last step is not passed, the effect of this medicine pill will not be too bad. Of course, as a pharmacist, it is natural to pursue perfection, so Xiao Yang did not omit the last step. The milky white flame gradually weakened, and then a faint temperature was emitted, slowly infiltrating into the prototype of the medicinal pill. The last step of the pregnancy pill didn't last long. About 10 hours later, in the flames, the pothole-shaped pill was completely transformed into a thumb-sized pill, one red and one purple. The purple-red two-color, like a Tai Chi gossip, is outlined on the surface of the medicine pill, and it looks like it possesses some spiritual wisdom, which is extremely miraculous. At the moment when the medicinal pill was just formed, the sky where the Yu family was located suddenly became dark, and heavy dark clouds quickly condensed on the sky. Wander around like a snake. This scene that suddenly appeared in the sky made everyone in the Due family stop and stare at the overlapping dark clouds in the sky. After a moment, they were all in a good mood, and their eyes suddenly turned to the direction of the wooden house in the backyard. At this moment, above the wooden house, a shadowy figure stood with his hands behind his back, staring at the changes in the sky without fear. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.